Awesome. All right, just so everybody knows, we're going to record. So we will upload this presentation at the end to our Business Career Services YouTube channel. And so if there's pieces that you miss for this session, have to duck out, then we record all of these so you can access those later in our library. So my name is Amy Odom, and I am a career coach in business career services, and I also work with employers. So I do a ton of networking in my day-to-day role in relationship development with employers, trying to convince them to come to campus, to interact with all of you as students, and to hire you for internships and full-time positions. And then, of course, I do a lot of networking with students, developing relationships with all of you to learn who you are and what you're good at and what you're passionate about. So then I can help connect you with the right companies and great employers. And so I do a lot of networking for myself and my role, as well as teaching it to other people. So it's a lot of fun, and we're going to do some talking about some different ways to network. This past semester, and of course this semester, are clearly very different in how we are handling networking. So normally this presentation mainly focuses on networking socials, which I can't imagine that many of you are attending very many networking socials lately. I just, you can probably hear my dogs barking in the background. I'm sorry. The joys of presenting from home. I just had like a little networking event at my house with my team that I work with, and we had to do it today because the weather was nice, so we could be outside. So that is the extent of our networking right now, is outside and socially distanced. So this presentation is going to focus on, how we can do some networking in the virtual environment, and try to maximize some of those opportunities and outlets, since we can't be together. We're not having career fairs in person. We're not, doing those little networking socials the night before the career fair. So we'll do a deeper dive on the electronic side of networking tonight. So Kaylee is my Zoom co-host. She's one of our Walker Fellows, and she's going to be helping me manage the room. And so if any of you have questions, I'm going to have her checking the chat box. So feel free to shout out a question if you want. This is really personal and, laid back, and we're not stuffy here. So if you have a question, say it. If you feel more comfortable chatting it, that's fine. Kaylee's going to help me manage those areas. So sometimes it's hard while I'm screen sharing to see all of you and the chats at the same time. So she's just an extra set of eyes for me tonight. And I'll try to keep this under an hour. I just want to be cognizant of your time and Zoom burnout. I have it too. So working on the computer for 8 hours and then yet another hour of something online. So we'll try to be quick, so you guys can move on to the next thing that you want to do today. Hopefully enjoy some of that sunshine that we're having. So any questions before we get started? Thumbs up. You guys good? Awesome. Okay, so let me get my notes set up here. Put those over there so hopefully you can't see them. All right. So again, my name's Amy. I work in business career services. And again, we're going to talk about, the different forms of networking that you can do. And everybody loves Ron Burgundy, so I have to put his picture up there. But I thought that was an interesting statistic. So 70 to 80% of jobs are secured through networking of some form, and I think a lot of times people think networking socials, and that's just one outlet. And we'll talk about the different outlets that we have. But clearly, networking is a very important thing, and it's usually something that most people dislike or dread doing, right? So if you've ever had to attend a networking social, you probably had some angst before you went. You were nervous. You didn't know who to talk to or how to approach strangers and what amazing, insightful things are you going to chat about and be witty and funny. And that just sounds horrible, right? You're like, it's a lot of work and I don't want to do it. And can they just give me the job and we can just bypass all of this weird stuff, right? So there is an art form to it and it takes a lot of practice, and I promise you can get better at it, just like when you practice anything else. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but fear not, there are other ways that we can network that are a lot less intrusive and invasive that we'll talk about. So I did want to start with a little story just about myself and kind of my background. And you'll understand why when I get to the end of the story, but I haven't always been a career coach. I actually graduated almost 20 years ago from App State with a painting and ceramics degree. We can talk about that one day if you want to, because you're like, how did you end up being a career coach, but you have a painting degree? So you just get a degree, okay, and then we can figure the rest of the stuff out. So I graduated with an art degree, and the jobs weren't rolling in. I mean, I don't know why no one wanted to hire an artist that didn't have any skills at all when she graduated. And so I was really starting from scratch because I was like, I don't know what to do with this degree. And I have a lot of part-time, experience, but beyond that, I don't really have a specific skill set like accounting or doctor, so we really got to figure this out. And so I followed what you would call the career chaos theory. And so I've had like 5 or 6 pretty distinct careers already. And I'll share my age. I'm turning 40 this year. And I've done a lot of different things. And the point is, there's no clear path unless maybe you're an accounting major. That's pretty clear cut. It's like step 1 through 10, right? But it doesn't really matter where you start. It's going to be a long and winding road to that end result. And I never thought in a million years that I would end up being a career coach. And so my first job, I managed a bookstore. And then I moved to Charlotte for a little bit, and I was a customer service representative for a large uniform rental company, the 5th largest in the United States. And I had 750 accounts that I managed. And then I worked as a wedding planner for a resort in the Boone area. And then for a large real estate and development company doing land launches and homeowner events and big parties, and marketing, working with a really large marketing firm to help market this large real estate and development company up here. And then finally landed at the university in housing just to get my foot in the door. And then eventually landed in the College of Business as a career coach. And so I tell you all of that, each of those careers that I had and each of those places that I was at for a period of time during my career, I landed all of those jobs through some pretty intense networking, because I didn't graduate with this skill set that a lot of you all are graduating with, coming with business degrees, right? So right now we're teaching and molding and shaping and helping you in those soft skill areas and those technical skills. And I really didn't have any of that when I graduated. And so I had to work really hard on developing relationships in each of those areas before I ended there. And so networking was something that I fine-tuned on my own and kind of had to learn the hard way. But that is what helped me secure each of those positions. And so as much as we don't want to be networkers, it is so crucial and important to how you navigate through that kind of career path that you take. Because it's ultimately the people that are the most important part of all those. So we'll talk about how to navigate through that, but just a little bit about me and all the crazy jobs that I've had. So we'll talk about the different types of networking that we can that we can do. We have, of course, referrals, networking events, which we're not doing a lot of right now. And then, of course, social media is a really, really big one. So the first one, referrals, is like one of the meatier ones. It's pretty important. And referrals is going to be ultimately just meeting people through other people. Okay. And so for students, college students, your best contacts for referrals are going to be your professors, are going to be career coaches in business career services. Because when we're not career coaching, we're working with employers to bring to campus. And so we know all the people that you're trying to get in front of for an interview, right? So we're really good referrals for you for those email introductions. Other contacts would be maybe past supervisors. So any kind of part-time job that you've had and this person has supervised you and can vouch for you, those are great points of referrals for you for other job opportunities. Make sure that the people that you're asking to refer you to other people, make sure that you agree on your level of relationship, right? So sometimes people use me as a referral, and I'm like, you probably should have checked with me first, because I don't like you like you think I like you. You know what I mean? Like we don't have that kind of relationship. So make sure that you're on the same page with the person that you're asking to refer you, because they may not feel comfortable doing that. So this is family, friends, right? So if your parents or you have family members that work for really great companies, utilize them. Use your parents' neighbors that work for these really great companies. It's not swarmy. It's not weird. It's how you get your resume from the bottom of the stack to the top of the stack, right? How do we do that? How do we leverage the relationships that we have with other people? And those may be surface, but they can at least help you get your foot in the door, or at least help introduce you to get that conversation started. So if you're not making relationships with your professors or your career coaches or your club advisors or your supervisors, please invest the time and really start thinking about, how can I develop those relationships, because they're going to be able to help me later down the road after college, you know. So referrals are pretty important. The next type of networking that's super obvious, of course, is networking socials or networking events. And again, like I said, normally I would have lots of slides to help you prepare for, you know, the networking socials that are coming up this semester. There's lots of great prep work that you can do to attend networking events. So I know we talked about how that can be kind of scary. You may get really, really nervous. You may end up standing in the, you know, with your friends clumped together by the food table the whole time while, you know, the other people are talking. But there is a lot of great kind of prep work that you can do that makes networking socials not so scary. All right. So a couple pointers that I love to share with folks if they're not comfortable in these situations is research who's going to be there. Okay. So there's going to be 20 companies at this networking social. You don't necessarily have to talk to all 20 companies. It's more about quality than quantity. Okay. So research the guest list and say, okay, there's 3 companies that I'm really interested in that I want to make quality contacts with at this particular networking social. So I know that I need to seek out Blue Cross Blue Shield, you know, Bank of America, and whatever the third company is. All right. And hopefully we can figure out who's going to be there from those companies. All right. And then set your goal. All right. So that feels a lot less overwhelming than knowing that you're going to a networking social with 100 people and you're like, oh my God, I don't know where to start, and I don't know who to talk to first. All right. So narrow that down and make that goal really manageable for yourself. So then at the end of the night, you can be like, okay, I walked away with 3 really good contacts that are going to be meaningful, right? Go with a friend, but don't stay with your friend, right? So it's great to attend those events when you walk in with someone that's your buddy, that's your wingman, that's someone that you can schedule times throughout the night that you're going to meet at certain times, at the food table to kind of regroup, share war stories of horrible conversations that you've had, regroup with one another, and then split off again, kind of go back out into the trenches, right? So that wing person for you can also be your saving grace, because we have to be careful that we're having quality conversations at these networking socials. And sometimes we get into those, I call them time sucks, right? So that one person that leeches onto you that won't let go. And it's like, how do you wrap up that conversation and get away? Use your wingman for that if you're able to. So going with that person is good, but making sure that you break away from them so you're having those conversations. And then take a little notebook with you. All right. So you'll want to take notes after every conversation that you've had. And there's little tiny kind of moleskin books that you can get and keep them in your back pocket or in your jacket pocket. And then every time you finish a conversation with someone, walk away, go get a glass of water, whatever, and write down notes about the conversation that you had and ask for contact information. So there's no point in having these amazing conversations with people at a networking social and then you have no way to follow up with them. So business cards, of course, are the old-fashioned way, but there's also a really great way that you can connect with people on LinkedIn with your phone. And I will pull up LinkedIn a little bit later. I don't know if I can, well, I can't really show it to you on the desktop application, but maybe I can pull up the app later on my phone. But there's a way that you can scan your profiles on your LinkedIn app on your phone. So if you don't have a business card, you can scan and connect that way on LinkedIn. So make sure that you write notes about the conversations. So then when you follow up later, then you can talk about specific things or reference specific things that you guys chatted about during that networking social. That's going to help trigger their memory also of who you are, what you talked about, and why you're following up with them. So again, if we were attending networking socials, I would talk about dress and all that great stuff, but I'll just glaze over that a little later tonight than I normally would. And then finally, social media is a really big way that, of course, we're networking now during the pandemic. And as we all become, more tech savvy, clearly we realize that social media is a big way that we're connecting with people just on a day-to-day basis. And of course, in the business world, the main platform of social media that you would be utilizing is going to be Handshake and LinkedIn, both of those. And we'll talk about those next. All right, so what I'm going to try to do now is actually go into LinkedIn, and Kaylee, will you just let me know if it switches over and
Yes.
what you guys can see?
It's loading right now. Well, now I can see it. Yeah, it's on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. And it's on the Appalachian State University page?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So sometimes with screen sharing, it won't translate. So I just want Kaylee to help me to make sure that you guys are seeing what I see. All right. So I know that there's probably a lot of back and forth of you hear everybody says, oh, you need a LinkedIn profile. You need to be doing a big job search on LinkedIn, like super important. Yes, I agree. LinkedIn is very important social media platform for you to use for your professional profile. I am not a huge fan of applying for internships and full-time positions through LinkedIn. That's what Handshake is for. So if you have been frustrated with applying for things on LinkedIn and you feel like it's very saturated, there's a lot of things to choose from, and they're all looking for 3 to 5 years of work experience. I understand your frustration. So your job search or internship search in Handshake, I think, will yield a much less frustrating experience for you, because Handshake is designed for college students. So the recruiters that are posting internships and full-time positions in Handshake understand that your experience is limited to the classes that you're taking. Maybe you've already had an internship, the clubs and organizations that you're a part of, and the part-time, work that you're doing. So it just feels a little more manageable for me to use Handshake as a tool for applying, and then using LinkedIn as a tool to network. Okay. And that's what I wanted to show you here on this particular page. So if you aren't already following Appalachian State University's LinkedIn page, you should. And then also, please ask to link to me and to our other career coaches in our area. And then the Central Career Development Center. We have 2 career centers on campus. College of Business students are really lucky because you can utilize both if you want to. So the Central Career Development Center serves all 20,000 plus students. And then the Business Career Services area only supports College of Business students. But you, as App State students, can utilize both of those areas. Okay. So link to all of us, and you can go on our website and look under the contact page and see all of the employees that work in our offices, because I have almost 2,000 connections in LinkedIn, right? And a large majority of those are employers, recruiters, human resource professionals, CEOs, CFOs, business owners, all the people that you want to connect with. I'm connected with a lot of them already. And so that helps with you being one step closer to them as connections by connecting with me. So step 1, if you haven't connected with us, please do so. Then follow Appalachian State University. And I wanted to show you on the home page here on the left-hand side, on this menu on the left, it says alumni. Okay, so you can click on alumni. And then let's say that you are really interested in working for Wells Fargo. Okay, so first I would do is put in Wells Fargo in that line there, and then we want to search alumni that are kind of recent, right? So in the last 5 to 6 years. So I would do a time frame from 2015 to current. All right. And well, let me see. Put Wells Fargo back in there. Here we go. All right. So now when you scroll down, you can see alumni from Appalachian State University that work at Wells Fargo that graduated in the last 6 years. All right. And so we want to try to find more recent grads because they're going to be more sympathetic to you as current students, and sympathetic in that they were just in your shoes, right? They just graduated, up to 5 or 6 years ago. They just went through that horrible job search. They know how frustrating it is, how nervous you are about graduation coming up or trying to solidify an internship. And so they're going to be like, you know what? I want to help this person. So, and there are certain companies that their hiring teams will see if students have reached out, not only by submitting an application and a resume, but if they have reached out to people on LinkedIn on their team. And if they've had conversations and say, hey, yeah, we got this application from Kaylee, but she also reached out to me on LinkedIn to learn more about our team and our area, then that resume goes from the bottom up to the top. Okay. So if you're really interested in working for a company, this is an amazing way for you to start that networking process, kind of cold, through LinkedIn. And I know it seems a little scary. You're like, I don't really know this person. I don't know if I email them, are they actually going to respond? Are they going to spend the time to talk to me? Yes, that's why we pick recent grads. because they're going to want to help you. Okay. And so if you really want to work in investment banking at Wells Fargo, let's message Nathan Wiles. Okay. He graduated in 2016. He was a finance major. So, he was from the College of Business at App State. And so you can message Nathan, ask to connect, and put a special message in there that says, hi, Nathan, I'm Amy. I'm a finance major in the Walker College of Business. I see that you graduated from the COB in 2016. I'm really interested in working in investment banking at Wells Fargo. Would you want to chat with me for a couple of minutes? Could we schedule some time to chat? More than likely, and I actually know Nathan, and he's very nice. Nathan is probably going to respond back to you and say, sure, I'd love to connect. Okay. And if he doesn't, well, that's Nathan's bad, right? But if he doesn't, you haven't lost anything, right? You're not out any money here. You might get your feelings hurt a little bit if someone doesn't respond to your message, but I bet you that you'll get more responses that says, sure, I'd love to chat, or yeah, here's my email. Let's message and see how I can help you. So this is a really easy way, you don't even have to put pants on for this, right? We can do this from the comfort of our homes and make some connections with recent grads of the College of Business and App State. So questions about how that works? Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's see here. Let's go back to, so that's a little bit about LinkedIn and how to do that alumni search. But a couple of other things, of course, we want to make sure that we have a great profile. So before we start reaching out to people and asking to connect, we want to make sure that we've got a great headshot and your headline is filled in and your summary section, and you've copied and pasted things from your resume with your work experience and things like that. I could do an entire workshop just on LinkedIn and how to fill that in, but make sure that your profile looks great before we start reaching out to folks on LinkedIn to connect. So you've made these great connections, you're reaching out, you need a call to action to alumni that you're connecting with on LinkedIn. So the natural next steps in the process is to ask for an informational interview. You're not going to call it, that's what it's called. You're not going to ask them for an informational interview, but that's what you're going to be doing. All right. So informational interviews it's just a way for you to obtain information from people that are working in the industries or the jobs that you're interested in to get more information about that. So it's not a job interview. All right. This is a conversation, but we're going to prepare for that conversation before we jump in. Okay. So we're going to have our questions ready to go. We know we want to ask. So that's going to require some research on your part of the company, so you kind of know what you want to know from them. All right. So it's a lot more casual. It's usually, it can be 20 to 30 minutes, up to an hour, depending on how well the conversation's going. You're not asking for a job or an internship. This is just a confirmation or a conversation for you to gain more insight and more information about the company and about a role. And sometimes you get to the end of these kind of conversations and you're like, ooh, I don't want to do that at all, ever. So you save yourself a lot of time, but you start building relationships with people in the process. So even if you figure out that I don't want to be a financial advisor, you've made a great contact that may be able to help or support you in another way in the future. And I use financial advisors because that's the one for finance majors that they all think they want to be a financial advisor until they talk to a financial advisor and they're like, ooh, no, I don't want to do that. That's really salesy and no thanks. And there's nothing wrong with it. Financial advisors are fantastic, but that's a great, an industry that if you think that's something that you want to do, set up an informational interview with a financial advisor so you actually know what it's all about before you jump into that application and interview process. So, and I know a lot of you are like, all right, so I make contact with an alumni on LinkedIn, or my dad has a friend at this company, and I want to set up this informational interview. Are they actually going to want to talk to me? And surprisingly, yes, people love to talk about themselves a lot. They want to tell you who they are and where they're from and their backgrounds and all of the cool things that they've done. So yes, people want to talk to you because they want to talk about themselves. We all want to talk about ourselves. All right. So don't be shy about your career exploration. Now is the time for you to figure out what it is that you want to do. Because show of hands, do y'all know what you want to do? Me, I still don't. I'm sure I have another career path after a career coach, right? So take the time, ask the questions, right? Set up time to meet with people. The more you talk to people, the better you are at talking with people. And that is an art form all in itself, talking and active listening. That's also another really good skill. But so how do you prepare for an informational interview? All right. So you definitely want to make sure that you set up at least 5 to 10 open-ended questions. Okay. Don't ask them all yes or no questions, because then you're done before you even get started. So ask open-ended questions. And it could be, about their background. Ask about the work environment. Ask about the company culture of where they work at. You can ask about salary just in general for a particular role or an industry, what the going rate is. That's a great thing for you to know, because you're like, I'm not a financial advisor. So what can I expect for a salary range for that type of job? You can ask them about promotions and growth opportunities, mentoring, sponsorships. If you're thinking about working for large corporations, mentoring and sponsorships is a thing. It's like Bank of America's most favorite thing is sponsorships. And that's like, you have to network within the company to get someone to sponsor you, vouch for you, to help you with your professional growth within the company. Okay. So they're already going to be expecting that you are going to be actively networking within the company, even after you've gotten the job. Did someone is there a chat? Let's see, a good one.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Good one. How will my performance be measured? Yes, absolutely. That's a great one. Rewards, not just promotions, but I mean, if you're in sales, what kind of sales incentives are offered. So there's sometimes you don't know what to ask until you've actually done it, right? And so, but you're just trying to dig into some general information about what this industry, what this job, what this company is actually going to be like. Another thing for new students graduating and getting their first jobs is looking for companies that offer rotational programs or leadership development programs. And what that means is that they have developed a program where you come in and you're going to learn about one role for 6 months to a year. And then you're going to rotate to another area of the company, and you're going to do that for 6 months to a year. And depending on the program and depending on the company, they'll have, they may have 2 to 4 rotations. And so what they're allowing you to do is learn about the company before they place you. So they can figure out what your skills are, and then they're going to figure out what their business need is, and then place you accordingly. And so as new hires just leaving college, and you're like, I think this is a good company because it's big and there's a lot of people that work there, but you don't actually know, like, I don't know what I'm going to be good at yet. Those rotational programs are great. And companies that invest that time of time and money into onboarding you as new hires are the companies that we love, because they're making some pretty big investments in making sure that they retain you and that you're happy. So informational interviews is a great way for you to start developing relationships, and alumni are a great place to start there. So begin developing those relationships, begin exploring those careers and figuring out what it is that you actually want to do when you graduate. So questions about informational interviews? I have a handout that I can share maybe at the end of the presentation, and it's all about informational interviews. And I think it has some sample questions that are great to ask. I'll try to, Kaylee, try to help me remember to put that in the chat at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see if we can get it to go forward now. All right, so we talked a little bit about LinkedIn and how to network on LinkedIn. The other one is Handshake, and there's lots of great networking that you can do within Handshake. So I've got this linked. Kaylee, will you let me know if it's switched over for you guys too?
Yes, it looks like it's on the homepage with like jobs you've saved and.
Perfect. Yep, exactly. Okay, so I'm logged in as a student, but in my profile right now. So this is what it should look like when you log in to your Handshake. All right, and then I just want to show you really quick some ways that you can network on here. Okay, and the first thing I want to show you up here in the top right hand corner, this spot where it says messages, these are emails that recruiters are sending you. These are real emails from real people. And they may be sending them to a lot of students, but you're receiving an email from a recruiter in Handshake because they've done a search criteria and you've popped up. So you have matched some preferences that they're looking for their internship or job. Okay, so I think a lot of times people think that emails in here are spam and they're not from real people, but it's legit. So make sure if you're not checking your messages in Handshake that you start doing that, and you'll see an increase of those messages right before a career fair, because employers are wanting you to know, hey, I'm going to be at your career fair at your school and I want to connect with you, or I want you to know that I'm going to be there because I want to engage. So make sure that you're checking those. So that's an easy no-brainer way people are trying to network with you, right? Sending you emails and Handshake. So make sure that you're checking those. All right, so I'm just going to click on one of these. So let's just say, oh, we've done our search for a job. All right, and I'm about to apply for this client relationship associate at Vanguard, but I want someone to know that I'm applying for this. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down about halfway through, a little bit more, maybe more towards the bottom. All right, and you're going to see this show full Vanguard profile. So a lot of you probably didn't realize that all of the companies that recruit and post things in Handshake have pages in here like they would in LinkedIn. Okay, so, and you can find those here. So when you're doing your applying and you're searching, click on that full profile. And the first thing you could do is click follow. So then you'll start receiving messages from Vanguard, or if they post new internships or full-time positions in Handshake, by clicking that following button, you're going to start receiving notifications when those are added. Okay, but the big thing that I want to show you here, and I showed this in my last presentation, but it's so important, and it's a part of networking, right? This is digital networking that we're doing in the platform that we provide to you. So if you scroll halfway down that profile page, you'll see contact information. It's like gold, all right? So you actually have, this is a real person, this university relations at Vanguard. Some of them have, you know, the actual name of the person that the email is attached to. A lot of them are going to be generic because they have people that are funneling through these positions fairly quickly. All right, so one email, but they check these all the time. Even though it looks like a generic email, people are checking these, okay? So click on university relations at vanguard.com and say, my name is Amy Odom. I'm a finance major in the Walker College of Business. I'm a junior finance major, and I just wanted to let you know that I just applied for the client relationship associate role. And I'm really interested in learning more about this position and learning more about Vanguard. All right, so in one of the upcoming slides, I'll show you the pretty email that I want you to send them when you reach out to them. All right, so guys, we're in the middle of a pandemic and we don't have real humans coming to see us. So we have to take the extra steps in places like this to reach out to them. You can't just submit a resume. We have to figure out how to make connections, okay? So when you're applying, go into those profile pages and find the email addresses. If there's not an email address, email me, all right? So again, my job is to make connections with employers. So I know a lot of these employers. I know their kids' names. I know which ones have dogs and which ones have cats and where they like to vacation. Like, I've made it my job to become their friends, right? So if you can't find contact information from one of these companies, ask one of your career coaches, okay? Because that's our job. And we'll try to help connect you as best as we can. So that's the big piece in Handshake that I really wanted to show you as far as networking. But there is also some great networking that you can do with your peers in here, all right? And the important part of that for you is your peers, even if they're peers at other schools, are going to be brutally honest with you about what their experience was at these companies. So if you want a legit insight of what is it like to work for Vanguard, reach out to some of these people. And you should be able to find, there's 504 students that have worked there. You should be able to find students from App State that have done internships or work there. Oops, that's okay, we'll go back here. That can help you, give you a real insight. And not only that, but contacts that they have at those companies that they can introduce you to. So again, LinkedIn and Handshake both are great digital ways that we can network, that we know employers are actively seeking and checking on a regular basis, especially now. Any questions about Handshake before we move on? Okay, I think I said, yeah, make sure you have a profile and upload all your docs, check your messages in there, and register and attend the virtual information sessions that they're doing. That's a great way for you to network in Handshake right now, is attending those events that employers are hosting. And I know it gets a little overwhelming, but they're trying to figure out how to connect with you too. And hiring was down significantly in the fall, not because employers weren't hiring. Students were not applying. So they would do, a lot of hiring in the fall for summer opportunities. And so there's lots and lots of stuff in Handshake right now that's available that I think normally would not be. So if you are not utilizing Handshake, I highly encourage you to access that and start using that to apply for things now. All right, so you have been working your butt off and reaching out to people on LinkedIn, and then you have been reaching out and applying for things in Handshake, and now you have completely forgotten who you've talked to and when you reached out and when you applied for the positions, and you call me and you're like, I don't know what to do. And I'm going to ask you, well, did you put all that information in a spreadsheet? And you're going to be like, yes, because you told me to in this presentation that I attended, right? All right, so let's try to be organized. We're doing all this great networking. Now we have to keep track of it, okay? So we know how and when to schedule touch point follow-ups. And a spreadsheet is the easiest way to do that. And so at the end of this presentation, I will have a list of all of you that attended, and I will send you a link to this particular spreadsheet. And so basically, or you can create your own. Basically, what you want to do is put in the company, the job that you or internship that you applied for, the date in which you did that, and then contact information of who you submitted to, and if you've been introduced or found another contact through that company, putting that contact information in there. And then you can set up touch point dates on your calendar. All right, so say you've applied for these internships on January 1st. Well, 2 weeks later, you want to schedule a follow-up to reach out to someone if you haven't heard, to say, hey, I submitted my application 2 weeks ago. I'm just following up on the timeline. You want to be that little branding reminder that pops up every 10 days. You're like, it's me again. Hey, it's me, right? And you don't have to reach out the same way all the time. You can reach out by LinkedIn, and then you can schedule a follow-up, touch point by email. And then maybe you want a phone call, or you want to reach out through handshake. Be that squeaky wheel, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And don't feel like you're being annoying. All right. We want to make sure that we stay relevant and that we stay at the top of their minds. And if it's not working out and they're not going to give you the job, they will let you know eventually, right? But make sure that you stay organized in who you've reached out to, and create those touch point scheduling on your calendar, so you remember, because you guys have a ton to keep up with. So this is just an easy way for you to keep track of it all in one place. All right, so I talked to you earlier about you're applying for things on Handshake and you find that email on their profile page. All right, so now you need to reach out to them and let them know that you applied. And so this is a creative way for you to kind of stand out. It's not just your run-of-the-mill standard stock email that they're going to glaze through. All right, so there's this really cool thing called Canva. And there you can upgrade and pay to have all the bells and whistles, and there's also free access. And I love Canva. I use it for everything. I just thought I was creative, but they do it all for you, and it's amazing. And all you have to do is just fill in the words, and they have laid it out all beautifully. So this is a template that I pulled from Canva that I use to introduce myself to employers. So if we have a new company that posts on Handshake, I will reach out to them with this template, and I insert it as an image in the email. So instead of just a plain text email, I insert this image to let them know who I am. So it's, there's graphics, it has my picture, it's got my contact information. I've branded with Appalachian State University and the logo, and it catches the eye. All right, so I have a really great response rate to when I reach out to employers using this, because it's not just text. All right, so you can go to canva.com, that's canva.com, and set up a username and profile, username and password, and there's a free level, and you'll be able to access some of these templates to use. All right, so here's just kind of a brief layout of things that I would encourage you to include when you're creating something like this that you're going to share with a recruiter. So in the first paragraph, you want to thank them for their time, and then let them know how you heard about the position. So companies are constantly trying to track where they're investing their marketing dollars and what's paying off best for them. Okay. So, and they are posting in a million different places. So they need to know, where did you hear about that particular role? So you can say, and you want to let them know what you've applied for. Okay, so they can kind of put all the puzzle pieces together. So you can say, I recently applied for the, summer finance internship at at XYZ company. And I heard about this opportunity through my school's career management system, Handshake. So instantly they'll know what position you've applied for and where you heard about it. Okay. In the second paragraph, you want to list your interests, your goals, and your experience. So in this one, it says, I'm very excited about learning more about your company and this particular role. I'm enthusiastic about, working on real projects that will impact, the company. And you want to talk about how your background and your skills are going to bring value to their company. However you want to lay that out, but that's kind of the shtick of what you want to put in that paragraph. And then you want to give them specific details about how your experiences have provided that skill set for you. In the third paragraph, you want to show that you've researched the company and found parallels. So you can say, I've researched your companies and I found out this about your mission, vision, and values. And that aligns with me and how I feel in these ways, right? This is why I believe in what you're doing as a company. And then finally, you want to show gratitude in that last paragraph and include a real signature. And it's really easy, all right? So anytime you submit a cover letter or a letter like this, you want to make sure that you include your real signature. And so you can sign your name on a piece of paper, and then if you have access to a scanner, scan that signature in and then save it as a PNG or a JPEG as an image. And then you can insert that image into your letter. So you always have your handwritten signature on that letter. You want to include your contact information so they're able to get in touch with you. And at the bottom of mine, I put my name, my major, and the year that I was graduating. So I can reiterate again that kind of important information that they're going to want to check off to make sure that you fit those basic things that they're looking for. And then on the right-hand side, I listed things that may be things that you could list there. So name any clubs or organizations that you're a part of, any interests or hobbies, special certifications that you hold. So for our CIS majors, that might be a good place for you to list those certifications, special skills, relevant courses. Again, we want to be brief, but we want to catch their eye. And it's not a full-on resume. It's just kind of a quick list of things that may spark their interest when they see it. So this is really nice because you can kind of cut and paste some items. You can use kind of this general template and then reword some of those things as needed based upon the company that you're sending it to. Any questions about branded email? Okay. All right. So this last piece, yes.
So if you would send that as an image, what would you recommend putting as the subject line?
Oh, that's a really good question. So maybe you put the position that you applied for. It could be, you want to keep it short because most people are checking emails on their phones, right? So I've learned from emailing students that you want to keep those subject lines really, really short so it doesn't cut off. So that's a really good question, Kaylee. Let me think about that because you want to catch their eye, and you also want to use subject lines that are easy for them to search. So maybe you put your name in the subject line. I'll have to think about that. Okay. That's a good one though. This last piece, sorry, any other questions before we move on? I will just drill through this and okay, all right. This last one is kind of a newer thing. It's video intros. All right, so again, we're trying to figure out how to network, how to connect in creative ways that helps you stand out right now because it's hard. And so I came upon this one idea called video intros. So you can upload a video, and I think I saw Izzy on here. She's like the queen of video intros.
You're flattering me too much.
Isabella, you're on here. You're fantastic at these. Izzy does these all the time and uploads these, but you can upload a quick video intro of yourself. All right. And you can link it to your LinkedIn or your emails. So the same emails that you're sending that branded email, you can also include a link to your video intro. And it's just a way to personalize this connection, right? It assists recruiters' ability to evaluate your communication skills, your presentation skills, how articulate you are. And it, again, helps you kind of stand out from other people that are just sending a stock email. And it humanizes you, ultimately. You're a real person that really wants an internship or a job, all right? So if you've put in this much effort into connecting with them and showcasing your abilities, that just shows them the kind of effort that you're going to put into the role that you have with them. So last time I tried to share this, it did not work very well. We're going to try again. This is a video. I shared the audio also this time. Kaylee, will you let me know? Because if it's not working well, I'll send it in a link. But we'll try to do it this way now.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Good grammar and spelling are important, but if you want to write essays that inspire,
I can hear it.
LinkedIn operates the world's largest professional network on the internet, with more than 347 million members in over 200 countries and territories. Professionals are signing up to join LinkedIn at a rate of more than 2 new members per second. In terms of sharing your video on LinkedIn, there are 2 ways to do so depending on your business. You can add your video to your personal LinkedIn profile, or share your video with followers on your company page. This is how to add your video to your LinkedIn profile. Step 1. After you have logged in, there are tabs along the top of the page. Click Profile and then Edit Profile. Step 2. Scroll down to the Summary section. Step 3. Here you will see an Add Media section. Click Video. Step 4. Copy the video's URL from your video provider. I'm using YouTube. Paste the URL into the box and click Continue. Note, it must be a public URL for it to successfully transfer over to LinkedIn. Step 5. A title and description will appear. These have been transferred from those you have had on your video provider site. You are able to edit them here if you wish. Step 6. Once you are happy with them, click Add to Profile. Tip. Once on the Edit Profile page, you can keep scrolling down to add videos to various other sections in your profile. For example, a different video from different jobs showing different experiences. This is how to share a video with the followers on your company page. Step 1. After you have logged in, go to the home page.
Okay. So yeah, just an easy way for you to upload that to your LinkedIn. And then of course, you can just link that into your email as well. And there's some pretty good platforms that you can use to help you kind of make those a little more professional. And I will add that to my list. I have a list of things that I want to send you guys at the end. I'll send you a link to a platform that helps you record a really kind of a little more polished video than like you just being in your bedroom, you know, recording a video. It has like cool music that you can include and backgrounds and things like that. So any questions about the video intros? Awesome. All right, and then we'll end tonight because we're already at 6 o'clock with a funny word that has come to be this past year called netiquette. So it's etiquette on the net. All right. So if we're going to be doing a lot of networking online and digitally, then we need to remember just some key things about preparing your space and your background. If you are going to be networking, attending information sessions, you know, through Handshake. Our career fair that's coming up March 1st through the 5th, that last day is a networking event in Zoom, right? So we want to make sure that we prepare our space and our background to look as professional as possible. You know, the fake backgrounds are fine. I mean, I like mine, so I don't use, you know, the ones that you can use in Zoom. But if you're really messy and you don't have time to clean up, those backgrounds are great to use. Making sure that you're muted and you have proper camera angle. So I've seen a lot of scenarios. Sometimes, you know, it's kind of the view of someone's chin. They have their laptop in their lap, maybe like this guy on the bed. So that view is not the most attractive camera angle. And then you guys do a great job of staying muted during the presentation, so you don't get a lot of that background noise. This one's a really hard one for me, limiting eating and drinking on camera, because I'd like a snack and I like drinking. I would say be careful with your drinking vessel, right? So make sure you don't have anything inappropriate on your coffee mug. I like to use branded cups that say App State on them. So when I'm drinking, I can at least do a little App State representation while I'm having my water. And then being present and speaking up when it's appropriate. You know, for that networking social that we're going to have for Walker Spring Connect, super important that you're present and that you speak up and participate in those opportunities. And then, of course, dressing appropriately, at least from the waist up. We don't know what you have on the bottom, and that's okay. I don't need to know. Just, you know, don't stand up and walk away if you've got something crazy on the bottom. But just, you guys are like pros at this now. You've been doing it almost a year. So just some quick reminders for us to end our presentation.